Hi from Copenhagen, everyone. My name is Julia, and I would like to have a look with you guys today on the other side of the bots, because there's so much innovation going on, but barely we ask how the people actually feel interacting with the bots or AI. And we at iMotions, we developed software where you can test human behavior actually. And how this works and how this could look like in your bot environment, that's what I would like to talk about today. So I would like to give you a brief introduction who iMotions is and what we do, why it is important to talk about emotions when we also talk about bots, then a brief introduction into biometric research, what kind of measurements and sensors, that's only a selection, but as we only have 50 minutes, of course, this is just a broad overview. Then I would like to talk about why it is so important not to only look at one sensor to get the full picture. And then which questions you could answer with using the software concerning your bots. And of course, I'm available for a Q&A in the end. As I said, I'm in Copenhagen at the moment, and iMotion started off as an eye tracking company actually. But very early, we realized that it's not everything. So just because I see where a person looks like at the screen, for example, your bot or your chat window, doesn't mean I really know what the person is feeling when interacting with the bot. So this combination of sensors, and I go into this in a second, has been realized by a lot of companies and also academia. So for example, we have a 360 car simulator with Stanford, but also other companies using human behavior research to understand their customers better. And in the end, you want to understand also how the people feel using your bot. So how do we feel during the actual interaction? Because if you ask in a survey, you only get the memory of how a person felt during the interaction with a robot. Does the user actually pay attention? So is it just, okay, he wrote, but does he actually read what the bot communicated with me? And which factors could influence a faster acceptance of the bot? For example, is there nice music playing in the background or an introduction to the bot? So there are a lot of factors you can play around and then see, does the stress level in interaction lower, for example? So biometric research is a broad field, and I don't want to go into depth here because this would be the whole day I could talk about it. Kahneman is quite a famous and got a Nobel Prize. He developed these two systems. So there's a lot happening in our own consciousness, and biometric research can help you to unveil this. So if you use, as I said, just a self-report, how did you like to interact with the bot? You just memorize the experience, but you don't really know, okay, what happened in this actual moment? Are the people frustrated or are they engaged? And those questions you can answer with different sensors. For example, facial expression analysis. That will give you the emotional valence. Is it a positive or negative experience you have? But some cultures are different than others, of course, and some really express their emotions strong in their face. So the Americans are known for a big smile, but for example, in Russia, smiling doesn't have the same importance in the culture. So how can I really see if this emotion is strong? For that, you could engage galvanic skin response sensors, where you also understand the arousal levels. Those can be negative as well as negative, but only the combination of both can lead you to a true answer. So those are different sensors you can combine to test your bots. I would like to focus on those four and like to start with the eye tracking. Imagine you sit in front of the computer and you look at your bot. The eye tracker can give you attention. So as you see here, where do my participants focus? But you don't only want to know that for one person, because in the end, analytics needs some data so you can actually drive conclusion on a mass of data you collected. So questions you can answer is time to first fixation. How long does it take to actually realize that there's a bot showing up? How much time do I spend in this interaction field? How often do I look there? Am I distracted by other things on the website that are competing with the bot? And also how many fixations I have. So there are different kind of metrics. And also what I think is very interesting, you can measure the distance from the screen. Am I avoiding? Because if I go back, that's a sense for avoiding behavior. If I move forward to the screen, I'm more engaged. And those questions you can absolutely understand with using eye tracking. Facial expressions. Facial expression analysis can be very interesting in understanding the emotions when interacting. So you have the 7 basic emotions. Am I happy when I'm talking to the bot? We talked about the sarcasm earlier. So do I really appreciate that the bot is going to be funny with me? Am I surprised because he knows things I was not expecting? Or am I really contempt? So what is this all about? So facial expression analysis can actually read the face of the person in front of the computer and combine the situation when I look at something and how I feel at that moment. The GSR sensor to measure the stress levels. This can be really helpful, as I said, that sometimes emotions are not that firm explained. And also we have mirroring behaviors. So imagine you talk to an AI that is actually human or an avatar and is smiling at you. In psychology, we would smile back because that's a social component. But does it mean I'm really happy? So if I encourage or measure also the arousal level, I really know, is this strong? Is there something happening in the person? And software like iMotions are super smart and can aggregate those data and can actually see in the track of using this bot, where does the most people have the most peaks? So what was the most engaging moment when using the bot? And finally, EEG. This is something that can go very into depth. It's super fast, way faster than the GSR because it takes some time until the sweat production comes to your hand. But those brainwaves are just there immediately. So common metrics you would like to have a look at when interacting with your bot could be the cognitive workload. How hard it is for me to understand what's actually going on. Engagement. How cool is that? How is it getting my attention here? Or am I distracted? Am I drowsy? So combining those sensors, you can get really a 360-degree picture. On this slide, you see how a setup could look like. So on one computer, we have one computer and 2 screens set up here. So the person who's testing your bot is sitting there wearing the galvanic skin response, an EEG headset. The eye tracker is seeing where's the attention on the screen, and the facial expression can be analyzed using the webcam. On the left, you have the live data coming in, and that has a lot of benefits I will talk about in a second. So you can really see what is going on and monitor the data. So if you have an interactive bot, you can actually use the API to have a direct influence on the experience. It is a quality control when you see the live data coming in. And you can also, if you have stakeholders or investors for your bot, show them the live data, how the respondents like what they're seeing. So there are super different setups we and our clients look at in the experiments. So for example, if you want to test how the bots are working on an app, are there any differences using a tablet or a screen-based bot? But also in gaming, in AI. So how can you really engage the people and not scare them, but really get their attention and make them have fun using the bots? This is an example of my colleague Becky. She is looking at a video game. So the yellow lines you see on the screen, this is following her gaze path. So you can see where she's looking first and where next and how much time she spends in certain areas. At the same time, you see her facial expression and also like the galvanic skin response. The beauty about iMotions are automatically synchronized. So you just click on 1 second in the game and you can see all those different metrics, beautiful, synchronized. Here's an example for a VR experiment. So you were hoping to get a lot of attention at one point. And here you can see very clearly when the roller coaster is going down, the GSR peak rises. So the person is very aroused. And this is what you go for developing games like this. And then you can test a lot of participants and then compare the data and aggregate it in an easy way. So to sum it up, and please feel free to reach out after the session to me if you have any more detailed questions, because I know it's a very complex topic. But basically what we in iMotions do, we can combine first-in-class sensors like different eye trackers, GSR sensors, EEG, and then present the stimuli, which would be the interaction with your robot in your case. So you get all the raw data out, which you can analyze in your favorite tool, SPSS, Excel, or whatever you prefer. And I think especially for the developers, the API can be very interesting in terms of you get a immediate feedback and can also influence the experience. So why should I use that when looking at my bots? The question from the beginning, how does the user feel during the actual interaction? So with the emotional recognition, you can identify frustrating moments and reduce them or increase joy. Does the user pay attention, use eye tracking and create AOIs? And of course, you can combine this with a survey. So ask the person in the end, what did you like about it and how would you improve? Yeah, so this is my email. Please feel free to contact me. You can find me on LinkedIn and my Twitter is Julie Quest.